last video, I promise. You know me, I could talk forever. We're going to talk about Sherman's March to the Sea. All right, this happened from November 15th to December 21st in 1864, the last full year of the war. It was led by Major General William Tecumseh Sherman. All right, hence the name Sherman's March to the Sea. Started in Atlanta, Georgia, and he worked his way down south through all of the major cities. And he used scorch earth policy. What that means, as I'm sure you can kind of guess by the name, burn everything that you come across. Everything. Buildings, carts. If people are locked inside, okay. If animals are locked inside, okay. Burn down farms, plantations, right? Destroy everything. And the main goal of this was to punish the South for even starting the war in the first place. So by the time this isn't a battle. By the time this happened, we're 3 years into the war, and the North is upset. Like, you started this, you could have just listened to us, just abolish slavery, listen to what the federal government has to say. Like, it's not just about you, right? So they were upset. And this is an example of total war when you use all of your resources against the enemy. Now, had we lost the Civil War, this could have constituted as a war crime, okay? And it could have been considered a war crime because in times of war, you're not supposed to target the innocent civilian populations. You're just not supposed to. It's okay if you target like military complexes, right? Like Fort Sumter, that's a military complex. But Sherman's March to the Sea, I mean, he burned down houses where innocent women and children were living, right? Plantations, so it destroyed their food. So that's not a good thing. But we won, and victors write the history, so we're moving on. This is a scene from the movie Gone with the Wind. It is considered to be one of the best movies ever made. It was made in 1939. I actually highly recommend you watch this movie. However, it's 4 hours long, so just know that it's phenomenally done, and this video clip is obviously not the entirety of it. It's just showing you the burning of Atlanta, okay? On the battlefield, no, let's switch our focus to women really quick. Women got way more involved in society during the Civil War, as I'm sure none of you are surprised. We started becoming nurses, right? Before the Civil War, nursing was actually dominated by men, but after the Civil War, obviously the men were fighting, so the women had to step up to the plate, right? So anyway, we got the Red Cross here, hooray. The nurses' roles, right? Not just like tend to wounds, but provide medical care, obviously, feed the patients, write letters for the patients if they got injuries to their arms or hands, read to patients, whether it's Bible passages, poems, novels, whatever, and pray with or for patients. Okay, so they did everything, right? Because after the battle won, the troops left, leaving the injured behind. Okay, so it was the nurse's job to kind of be there and provide them support. If you can imagine, they were just as necessary as the soldiers were during this time. Otherwise, the casualty count could have been higher. Also, despite nurses providing awesome care, there were still a lot of problems, and hopefully this isn't shocking to you. Diseases ran rampant. If y'all want to go down a rabbit hole, look up battlefield diseases during the Civil War or medical practices during the Civil War. It's messed up. Seriously. We didn't know anything about germs back then, right? This was the 1860s, so it's not like, oh, you have to sanitize this tool. You have to use anesthesia to put them under so they don't feel anything. And we didn't know any of that. Okay? So hospitals were super disgusting, right? They would literally have an operation on a table, get that guy off, and put another guy right on it without even washing it off, right? If they were amputating somebody, as you can see from the kits up here in this picture, they didn't clean it in between patients, maybe just wiped it off, but that's how you get bloodborne illnesses. What you doing? And pus, which is a sure sign of an infection that we know of that now. They thought pus was a sign of healing. So when they saw someone with an injury oozing pus out of their injury, they thought, oh, thank God it's oozing. If not treated right away, that can cause gangrene and eventually blood poisoning, and you will die a horrific death. They didn't know that, though. Anyway, weapons developed faster than medical supplies. So they were using outdated medical supplies. Whiskey was the most common pain medicine. Okay, numb the pain. So a lot of people were actually drunks during this time because, I mean, I get it, right? If you're getting your leg amputated on a battlefield, yeah, right? Get that entire bottle of whiskey. You deserve it. If you've ever heard of the phrase bite the bullet, it actually derives from the Civil War as well, because anesthesia was not invented yet. Anesthesia is the pain medicine that puts you under so you don't feel anything, right? So the phrase was bite the bullet. Put a bullet in your mouth, between your teeth, as they amputate through your leg. And as you can see from that picture that my screen is currently blocking, that's basically how they did it on the battlefield. Okay. So literally, their legs, their limbs were chopped off with them feeling every second of it. I don't know about you, that sounds horrible. But that was the best that they could offer, right? And so, actually, a lot of people, if they didn't die from actual combat, a lot of people either died from disease or infections from their amputations. I mean, it was possible to survive it, right? But just know that a lot of people died this way. And anyway, here is a picture. This poor sap is about to get his leg cut off. Yikes, right? And everyone's just around watching. Oh, you'll be fine, man. And of course, that one guy is holding his head down so he doesn't try and flail. The Civil War. Not exactly a sugar-coated moment in history. But I can tell you a fun fact. Most pictures you see of dead bodies during the Civil War, which why would you look that up? Hey, I don't know. Or actually posed. So photographers would, this was the first photographed war in U.S. history, right? So photographers would literally position dead bodies to make it look more dramatic. So if you can think about that. Also during this time in American history, people took pictures with dead bodies before funerals anyway. The Victorian era. Look that up too if you want some interesting stuff. Anyway, that is that. And your assignment this week, y'all are just going to look through those slides, answer my questions. It's due by this Friday. That's all I have for you guys, all right? Focus. We're almost done, okay?